So we're going to take a second to look at Word and how you can make a resume using that software. So I have an example set up here with some text at the top and a phone number, email, and website. And we're going to make a header with that. And then we have different sections set up: an education section, an experience section, a skills section with different kind of segmented sets of skills here. And then we also have references. So I have some example made up shows, made up individuals in all of these places. And we're going to go ahead and format this to look like a resume. Now, there are two ways that I recommend you do this. One of them is using tab stops, and one of them is using tables. I actually vastly recommend that you use tables over tab stops. But in either of these two cases, you're going to organize your header and some other things in the same way. So we'll start with those. One of the things you might want to know about Word is that there's this little button right here, which is called the Show Hide button. And when you click it, you can see all sorts of things that are happening behind the scenes inside your document. For example, it has two tabs and then an enter or a return in order to create a new line. There's a tab at the beginning of each of these lines, and there is a single tab between each of these. So I want to make sure that there's only one tab in between these two, and you might figure that out later, or you'll understand that later. So I'm going to double check that. And then I have skills and I have references and I have all those things. So if I want to set this up with a header, I want to double click on, I'm going to go ahead and cut all of that. And I just hit Control or Command X to cut. And then I'm going to double click up here until I get the word header. And then I'm going to paste it inside. So now that I've done that, I can make a fun font as my name. I can make that bigger and more distinct. Maybe I'll center it. Then I will take all of these things and I am gonna, I'm not gonna do anything particularly neat. Actually, I'll do the little tilde. I'm gonna put something neat in between them, but we'll see. Now, it's a little hard to see right now, so I'm going to go back to home and I'm going to take off that so that you can really, cancel, so that you can see what that looks like. And when I center it, that it'll be nice and clean. Now, you may not want your phone number first. You may want your website first and then et cetera, et cetera. It's entirely up to you, but this gives us something neat and clean to start with. I'm going to go ahead and right click on this right here, which has your email as a clickable link. Now, if you want this to be a clickable link, you can come in here and go to File, Save As, File, Print, either one, and you can save as a PDF. And right here, you want to make sure that you click Best for Electronic Distribution and Accessibility. And if you do that, I'm going to go ahead and save this into a folder here. And then open that up. You can see that these will still be clickable links. So they will still work as hyperlinks. So if you send a PDF to someone, it might be really useful to go ahead and leave a hyperlink in that space. But if you don't want to leave a hyperlink in that space, or you want to print this, you may not want your document to have this like different color to it or make it blue. You might want it to be something else. In that case, you want to come in here and you want to right click on it, go to hyperlink, remove hyperlink. And that will remove the hyperlink from those things and allow you to just have a simple, not colored look to your design. Or you can also color it whatever you want. You can also insert things. So you can insert pictures. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and insert a picture from a file, and I'm going to grab, not that, I'm going to grab a logo. Just a logo. Get it? So I'm going to grab a logo, then I'm going to crop this down to a picture to the size that I want. and a cutout tag goes here. Great. And I can make it smaller. And let's say I don't want to flip it, just want to make it smaller. Let's say that I want this to be behind my name and I can't get it to kind of go where I want it to go. Every time I drag it around, it ends up moving things around. So I'm going to right click on it. I'm actually going to go to wrap text. And right now it's trying to stay in line with text. That's why it's checked here. So I'm going to come down, and because I don't want it to interact with the text at all, I'm going to say that I want it behind the text. And that way I can just put it right here. Let's make it a little smaller and put it right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose transparency, and I'm going to make it like that. Also, I forgot that that was kind of blue. So I'm going to come in here and make it match. And that's what I'm going to do. And there I've got a logo. Now, the nice part is that when I put this on the header, it's going to repeat on every page. Don't forget, you can also do a footer. So if you want to come in here and grab that logo, copy and paste, and put this logo in your footer as well, you absolutely can. That being said, you could also, some of the things I've seen before is also maybe putting your website in the footer instead of having nothing there. And have a little something to make your paperwork look really clean and really uniform. So now that we've styled that and we know what we're going for, we're going to go ahead and come up here, and let's say that we're going to go ahead and use that font, and we're going to make it the color that we've used. Another thing you can do is once you've styled something, you can also repeat that style in other places. You can grab this, and this is the painting tool. And you can just choose that a couple times, and you can style all of your headers to be the same. Now all of my headers are styled the same. So you could also insert a logo in the background. You could insert lines. You could insert whatever you want. But the rest of the formatting is where you could take two different turns. And those two different turns are going to be either tab stops or tables. So tab stops are when we turn this back on, you can see that every time you hit tab, you're actually going to move across the surface of the page a certain amount. And if you look up at the top, you can see that it goes from this arrow to this arrow to this arrow. And if I move this arrow, you can see those little forward arrows moving. So what that means is if I select a certain amount of text, I'm going to be able to see the tab stops that are active at the top of the page. So I can put my first tab stop here. I can put my second tab stop maybe here, and my third tab stop over here. I can also change the type of tab stop that is to in this corner so that it can be a right tab stop or a left tab stop. So I'm going to add that as a left tab stop there. So what this will do now is that when I start and I hit tab, I'm going to go to that first tab stop. And then when I hit tab again, I will go to that second tab stop. If I hit tab a third time over here, I'll go to the third tab stop. If I hit tab one more time, I will go to this fourth tab stop, but it is going to the fourth tab stop on the edge. And you can see that how it's affecting it by when I move that object, it'll move with it. These tab stops will apply to every row that I had selected when I made the tab stop. So as you can see, there was an extra tab stop in the other row. So this can get kind of confusing because every single row can have its own tab stop. But that's what's happening down here. All of these lines are tab stopped together. So whether or not you have your document already tab stopped or you're establishing tab stops, they can be very useful to line things up. But if we want to line things up, we have another option. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to move this so there's only one tab between the items that I want in different sections. This isn't super necessary, it's just a little bit easier to convert into a table. So I'm going to go ahead and convert this text into a table. So I'm going to select it, insert table. And now if you're inserting a new table, you could draw that table. You could choose how many you're doing. So right here, I need one, 2, 3 columns and 2 rows, or I can say convert text to table. I'm going to tell it that I have tabs in between each area, and I'm going to ask it to autofill. And I'm going to click OK, and look at that. It's in a table. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the cells on the bottom row. And so I only have that, and I'm going to put a little space in the normal method of putting space inside of a Word document. You just hit enter in between. And then last but not least, I'm going to select this whole table, and I'm going to come up here to the borders, and I'm going to select no border. Now, when it prints, it is going to only have, it's going to have everything in order, but it isn't going to print those borders. So I can also expand them out and using the rulers, expand them to be however I want them to be. And then I can arrange how they are aligned in each section, including that I can set this so that it is on the same line as what one of the columns below it will be on. So down here, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to go insert, table, convert to table. Okay. And I get one too many columns over here. So I'm going to go ahead and select it, delete cells, delete entire column, and click OK. Once again, I'm going to rearrange this until it's the right size. I'm going to select everything in this column, and I'm going to make it align to the right. I'm going to rearrange some of the things inside so that they line up correctly. I'm going to select all of the shows and make them italic. I can also arrange one cell at a time if I want to just rearrange this so that they aren't aligned. I can do that. Don't do that. The whole point of doing this inside of a table is so that you can line everything up. But you might need to occasionally make something unique or change something little. So it is nice to know that you can do it. For example, if this were becoming in conflict, I could select this and give room just to this one so that it didn't duplicate that line versus any other one. And that way you can line this up. I'm going to do the same thing again. Insert table, convert table to text. Now, if you're making a new table from scratch, you don't have to do that. You can just start inside a table, and that's perfectly fine. But if you are adjusting something from somewhere else, you may need to start over. Just going to move this over. Sometimes your automatic conversion won't be super great. As you can see, I'm going to have to move these over and then remove this, delete column. But now I can line this up with the one above it and line this one with the one above it again and again so that all of those are going to be the same. Now, I will say this doesn't line up nearly as nicely as it did before. So if I give this more room, I probably want to give this more room so that everything is even. Once again, I'm going to select and no, view, don't view that. So your skills, in a similar way, I'm going to go ahead and make a table for the skills. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a table individually. I want 4 columns and they're going to be maybe 7 high. I don't actually know how high they're going to be. I'm just guessing. So this section is going to go here. Whoop. There we go. So what I did was I selected all, copy, and then selected the cells and hit paste, and it'll fill those in. I missed one, so I'm going to tab until the end until I get another one. copy and paste. And this one actually started over because I had more than I could fit. So redo, got a little lost, delete, computer programs, cut, select, paste, additional, select, copy, and paste. So this is one of those occasions where you might need to use a single cell shift in order to make this work. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this whole thing, make sure it lines up to the things above it, because all of our columns, if we can help it, should line up together. I don't necessarily think, I hit my mic. I don't necessarily think that these have to line up together. This could just be an evenly spaced set, and then our references below it would do the same thing where they're nice and evenly spaced. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this 1, 2, and 3-point perspective with illustration. And the reason I'm doing that is so that it doesn't cause this to have two sets. The other thing I can do is I can grab two pieces and I can merge those cells. And now that cell will be merged. And I can make sure everything's lined up. I'm going to cut that, move that up, cut that, move that here. And then I'm going to do the same thing here where I just merge those two cells together. So everything is still nice and even all the way across, except for those ones that are duplicated. Remove that extra space. Everything's looking good so far. This might be one of those situations where I just grab all of these and pull that over a little, grab this one, pull that over a little, grab this one, pull that over a little, grab this one, pull that over a little. And now when I select this whole thing and say no borders, I've got a nice looking deal. And I can also take this and copy the whole thing and use the same block for my references. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to once again select all of that, cut, and paste. And it started repeating again when it ran out of stuff. So it isn't perfect. Nothing is. But especially with that overlap, looks great, does weird things. Doesn't help that I'm close to the bottom of the page, but I'll just do. There we go. Like that, looking good, a little easier to see. And I'll just copy paste this stuff in. Now, because I merged the cell up there, I need to split the cell. Number of columns 2, number of columns 1, number of rows 2. And then I can get this email in there. Once again, just like the things earlier, you can remove the hyperlink from these emails unless you are sending this as a PDF that is a hyperlinked PDF. And so now I have this nice, neat thing that when I go to File, Save As, Example Resume, File, Save As, PDF, example resume so that you can actually see that it will exist without the print, I can open that up and share with you, there we go, what that would look like. So now you get this very neat, nice thing that has titles, education, experience, skills. You've got lined up columns, you've got lined up items, you've got all of your things nice and neat. And that is a great start to your resume. Now, I would definitely go back in here and double check a few things. As soon as I open this, what I can see is that I missed some details. And that's important because this is not lined up with this down here. So I want to move that over and line it up. These two are not lined up, and I want to see what I can do to possibly get this a little bit more lined up because I do have some nice empty, kind of empty space right here. So I could push some of that over a little bit. These columns don't look equally weighted. There's a little more space here. So I'm going to move that over, just tweak it a little bit. And I think I'm also going to move this in just a little bit because it's not lined up with this, but it's close enough that it looks a little awkward to me. And clear those drawings and scroll down a little bit. When I look down here, I also, I don't love how the first reference name goes out over this side of the references. So I'll probably just take this whole thing and scoot it that way, or I'll take this item and I'll scoot it this way. I could also add a little bit more interest to this or add a little bit more design to it. Really depends on what I'm feeling. But this is a very good, like simple, clean thing. It's very simple for a design resume. It's a little bit heavy on flair for a performance resume, but if you take away the color and kind of uh, simplify, I would do not as extravagant a title font on these here, then the rest could apply. Anyway, that is how to use Word to create yourself a resume, whether you're using tab stops or a table. Bye.